Hello there, and as usual, I'm Aaron from My Stand Gamers, and welcome. So today I'm going to show you a rather trolley weapon, something that I'm probably going to actually regret showing you completely. Now, on a lot of servers in Space Engineers, you will both, or a lot of you will start down on a planet, depending on how your server is set up. And the initial first stage is getting your first ship into space. Once you get your first ship into space and you start building in space, the game becomes a whole lot easier. But the question is, how can we stop them other players from getting into space, or eliminating the hours that they've spent building that ship so we can get into space first? Well, something this simple and this cheap can actually do it. We've got a landing gear, we've got a parachute block, reactor, camera, antenna, gyroscope, and a hydrogen system. So this guy's going to be very fast, very agile, and you're probably wondering exactly what he's going to do. Well, I'm going to do this at a demonstration on a fighter, but you've got to imagine that we don't actually have to launch a ship shortly after. So we'll access the fighter jammer and we'll activate the remote control. There we go. And we'll control that. So with that controlled, we'll activate the camera and we're going to actually have a hunt for little Henry. But the idea is you'd launch this thing and you'd see their spaceship launching up, trying to get out the atmosphere, and you need to go and hunt that bad boy down. Once you've hunted it down, once I found myself that Henry target, we can deploy the parachute, and the parachute will create as much drag as possible. You can add more parachutes for the larger the ship, and in a lot of cases they'll even crash the ship. So let's try to find out where Henry actually went. Henry's been flying around on a remote control here, so I could test the little weapon systems out. There he is. We can see he's down in that valley there. Is he going to hit the side, or is he going to actually decide to pull up? So we've overshot him, but the great thing about this weapon is we can actually turn this guy around, slow him down completely, and then all we have to do is make very gentle contact with him. When it becomes to actually contacting at high speed, when you're actually aiming for these guys, it's not too hard, but these slower speeds, like I'm doing here, it's a little bit harder. So there we go, we've got an attachment, and we'll go to spectator camera for the next stage. So we've attached our little drone to the bottom, and in the real case scenario, it'd actually be attached to their ship that it's attempting to launch, and he's flying quite calmly like so, and then we pull a parachute on him. And just like that, we can disable an enemy ship. So as you can see, we've almost crippled this fighter completely. We've brought it to such a low speed that any of our turrets from the base could eliminate it, but remember, it's not designed for fighters. This is designed for them larger ships that are trying to take off, and they're using all the possible thrust they can to get out the atmosphere, and just delaying it or slowing it down with a number of these parachutes. You could have one of these with 5 or 6 parachutes on, would really cripple the design. So I'm going to attempt to intercept a rocket that is going to an outer planet with the same sort of missile concept. Let's see if it works. So far, it's doing me quite well, this little design. It's really causing some people some problems, especially little Henry here. So for this next fun little test, what I've done is just made this quick ship out of half another ship that I've got, and we're just going to set it to launch. So let's go to our timer block, hit the start button, and if we quickly zap ourselves back to the seat over here and we make this fast, pop our character in, spawn there, quickly find the fighter jammer and go to the remote control block and go to control, find our little hooter there, bring it over nice and steadily. Let's just see if we can attach ourselves back to it before this guy takes off. Please attach, please attach. Yes, we've got an attach, perfect. Alright, so that dart's now attached and that thing is about to launch. So you could obviously attach it before launch or maybe after launch. But now we need to remember one more thing. We need to deploy this before it gets out of the parachute radius. So just after takeoff's a great time, because if we do it like this now, we pull them parachutes out, it's going to cause a lot of drag on one side of the ship. And just like that, it looks like that parachute might actually cause this thing to crash. Or even just spin around and go absolutely crazy. If you were on board that ship now, you'd be so upset. You'd be extremely wound up. What the hell's going on as you're trying to fix it? You're trying to fight everything with gyroscopes. And there he goes. He's crashed himself into the ground. And he's lost his first ship that he's tried to get into space with, giving us a significant advantage. Unless he decides to reprogram our little probe and stick it to our ship. Now, what you can also do is forget the missile side of these things. Get yourself a little landing gear and yourself a parachute and reactor. And just set this thing on a timer, so it'll randomly go off at some time, and if you set that on a repeating timer, it'll constantly deploy the chute, meaning that this little guy or the ship itself will never take off. There's loads of little nasty trolley things you can do with the parachute block, especially when it comes to early game ways of getting yourself victory. But I didn't tell you any of this, so remember that. Anyway, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Just a quick video, but I'll see you next time.